Hello and welcome. My name is Jeremy Lopez, and I'm excited to talk to you today. I want to take a couple of moments to tell you some things that I have learned. There's some secrets and mysteries within the universe that nobody seems to understand, but many of us begin to tap into. There are a lot of people beginning to tap into what I like to call universal laws. Now, according to God and according to His Bible, the Bible says it rains upon the just and the unjust, which means there are universal principles that work for anyone and everyone. Now, one of the secrets I've realized, I own many businesses and many corporations that are very successful. And I have a great staff, a great team of people who are learning the art to be successful and learning the art of what money is and what money is not. So what I want to talk to you about is the power of money and success. Now, one of the key principles I want you to memorize and write down if you can is this. Money is a servant, not a leader. Money has been sent to us in our lives to serve and not to lead. Now, many people in life, they seem to worship money because they're constantly focused on money, money, money. But I've realized when you begin to allow things to begin to happen in the sense of focusing on things that are good and pure and holy and of good report, and you begin to focus on how to be something. The Bible even mentions that we're the head and not the tail. We're above and not beneath, which means a lot of people do not know the knowledge or the wisdom to know how to be the head and not the tail of life. We are co-creators with God, which basically means that anything that God has given us in this universe is there to serve us, not to lord over us. Now, universal principles and laws are a different subject. Universal principles and laws are there for the just and the unjust. They're there for anyone, whether you're Christian, Buddhist, Muslim, Hindu, New Age, whatever you are. Universal laws work regardless. Now, let's look at the law of gravity for a moment. How many of the law of gravity is neither Christian, nor Buddhist, nor Hindu? The law of gravity is a universal principle that rises above religion. Universal laws are things that God has set into motion, which means they are constantly working, circulating, and working for anyone and everyone. Whether you acknowledge it, whether you have knowledge about it or not, it is there to work for you. It can work for you or it can work against you. And the more knowledge you begin to gain on these universal principles, you will begin to understand how they work and how they function. Now, money, for instance. I mentioned the universal laws because of the law of attraction. Many people do not realize your thoughts become things. And thoughts that you think, 60,000 thoughts a day, scientists say we have. 60,000 thoughts a day. You have the power to constantly create new ideas and new thoughts within inside of your spirit all day long. And many of them we remember, and many of them we do not remember. And the thoughts that you think all throughout the day, you have got to learn to master. Now, can I memorize and remember every thought that I think throughout the day? Absolutely not. I would go crazy if I could remember or focus on every thought that came through my brain. But I do have to remember and acknowledge that there are thoughts throughout the day, thousands of thoughts that God has given us to think about. And many of us, because we don't walk in a place of awareness, we're not alert of these thoughts and we let them bypass throughout our mind. Many thoughts you get a day are thoughts of creativity. Now, the word creativity comes from the word creator, which means we are co-creators with God. So therefore, as God spoke the universe into existence, God spoke us into existence. We have the DNA of an eternal God inside of us. The DNA to create and to be a co-creator. I am a creator and master of my own life. Did you know that about you? Did you know that you are a creator and a master? You are the painter of your own destiny. Which means on planet Earth, you have the power to create your life or the power to mess up your life. How many of you out there, for example, you married the wrong person and then 5 years later, 10 years later, you get a divorce and you know that that situation was something you messed up. It's not something that just happened, it messed up. You messed it up because your thoughts entered your mind to say, it's never going to work, we're different people, or maybe we begin to walk in fear, we begin to walk in anxiety, we begin to walk in something that messes our lives up. Or maybe you just knew this is not the right person for me. We don't get along, but we're going to try to make it work. And so what happens is you end up getting a divorce, or maybe look on your job. You look at your job and you say, something happened on my job, and I knew it wasn't from the very beginning. It wasn't the right job for me. It wasn't the place I should be in my life. And so what happens is you look down the road, and years later you look back and you say, I knew I messed up in these situations in my life. So thoughts play a very important role in our lives, and God speaks thoughts to us all day long. If we have the power to have 60, at a bare minimum, 60,000 thoughts a day go through our minds, how many of those thoughts do you think are from the Lord? How many of those thoughts do you think God projects in our mind and puts an image in our mind to say, you are called to be successful. You are called to make money. You're called to be the head and not the tail. You are called to be the master and the Lord of your life. What does that mean when I say master and Lord of my life? It means that when you look at the power of money, how many people have messed up their lives because of money? Do you know that money itself cannot do you any harm? But you, because you don't understand the principles and you don't understand what the knowledge of money can do for you and what it can do to harm you or to help you, then what happens is money begins to take over and control your own life. You have to master and lord over your own money. And many people's lives have been messed up, not really because of money, but because they did not know the art of money. They didn't know the knowledge, and they didn't understand how money works and functions and flows within their own life. So if you look at money, you have to examine the fact that money is here to serve you. You're not here to serve money. And when you begin to get that principle corrected within your mind to understand, I am here to lord over money. Money is not here to lord over me. Then you begin to set in motion a universal law which is constantly flowing anyway, but you begin to flow with it and not against it. And that is even one of the universal principles within the Bible talks about money, the love of money, not money itself, but the love of money is the root of all evil, which means when you begin to understand that these principles work regardless, that if I get education and knowledge on these principles and on these universal laws to understand that thoughts become things, and that if I have money, I've got to think that money is my servant, that money is not my Lord, it is my servant. First principle begins to work for you, and that is money is here to serve you. And money is here to be your friend, not your Lord, not your master, and not your lover. And when you begin to understand money has been sent to go along with your will, your destiny of your life, and that is to serve you all the days of your life, you begin to set things into motion more powerful because you have knowledge and wisdom to understand how these things function and flow. So money is here to serve. Now, one thing I heard years ago, I was watching MSNBC, and I began to understand they began to do a study and a story on robbers. And even as a robber, the thrill for a robber is to go and to get money. And they begin to question and interview these robbers and these thieves and begin to ask them, why do you do what you do? First and foremost, it was a thrill for them. But second of all, they begin to say, because we want more money. Now, let's look back in our lives, for example. Look at your own life. If you look at your own life, you're raised and you're taught, you're a product of your own environment. So whatever you've been instilled in your mind from maybe your parents, your mentors, your peers, your teachers, people around you, or maybe just your neighbors. And that is, money is in the bank. Money's in the bank. And so if I need money, I've got to go to the bank. Now, first and foremost, you've got to realize that is not true. Money is actually not a natural thing. Money is a supernatural thing. Money is a spiritual thing. Because money flows from consciousness first. Money does not flow in the natural first. It flows in consciousness first. What do I mean when I say money flows in consciousness? You've got to realize, as a thief or as a robber, you look and you say, I've got to have more money. I got to have more money. So therefore, I've got to do what? I know money's in the bank, and in order to get money that's in the bank, I've got to have a better job. I've got to have more revenue. Now, you might say, how do I get more revenue? How do I get a better job? You work harder. You work 30 hours, 40 hours, 50 hours a week, and all of a sudden you find yourself saying, I'm making more money. I need to get more money. I need to get more money. But you never stop to realize money is not a natural thing. Money is a supernatural subconscious thing. So when you begin to master the fact that money is a thought first before it is materialized. Then you begin to understand as a head how money starts and how money functions and the protocol of money. So money is, first of all, a thought. Now, everybody's heard this before. Thoughts become things. That is 100% accurate and true. The Bible even says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So when you begin to understand the principle that thoughts become things, and what you think about, you become, you behold. Even what you behold in the natural, which we'll get into later, what you behold natural, you begin to birth forth. Whatever you behold visual, you'll begin to get that same visual in your brain, and you'll begin to birth forth that same thing that you beheld. So thoughts become things. So whatever I surround my life with, if I surround my life with people who have no money, if I surround my life with people who are constantly thinking and have the same rotation day after day, week after week, year after year within their mind that says, I'll never be anything, I don't have the knowledge to do this, I'm not smart enough to master money, to get money, because subconsciously they think money is in working hard at a job, or money's in the bank. So therefore, they're always focusing on, I need to work harder to put more money into the bank, and then I can go to the place that holds my money, almost like they're a god, and I can withdraw money. And many people have that mentality. If I can just go to a bank and get more money, or maybe, check this out, if I can go to the bank, I can get a bigger loan. I can get a loan for this or for that, and I can make more money. Because subconsciously, since you're a product of your environment, you are thinking money is in the bank, but you don't stop to realize money is first and foremost a thought. And when you begin to prioritize and come out of the old paradigm mindsets you once had as a child, as a teenager, to understand money is here. It's not here. It's here first. And if I begin to focus and ponder on my thoughts and begin to feed into the power of creative thoughts in my brain, because let me tell you something, creativity will always, when you begin to give into creativity, creativity will always produce money. Every single time. When you begin to give into the God thoughts, the DNA thoughts of you, and trust me, don't say, well, I'm not creative, I don't have a lot of thoughts. Let me tell you this. You have over 60,000 thoughts a day, scientists tell us. So trust me, if you had 5 or 10 thoughts out of 60,000 God-given thoughts of creativity and the art to master an invention to create it out of nothingness, every single time you give into a God thought, you will always produce money, because thoughts become things. And when you begin to get into a higher awareness, and that is to tap into the God-conscious mind in you, you begin to understand, if I can just tap into that creative part. Let me give you an example. In the Bible, there's a story that talks about a woman who was on her menstrual cycle. And the Bible says that she had precious substance, if you will, that was blood that was leaking out. But she said within herself, she was pressing through the crowd towards Jesus. And as she began to press towards the crowd, the Bible says that she began to say within herself, if I can just reach up and touch the hem of His garment. Which means it wasn't the fact that she was just doing something for nothing. She first had a thought, and that thought she began to come into agreement with. And that thought was, if I touch Him, I'll be made whole. And so you have thoughts all day long, but you have to learn to come into agreement with that thought and feed into healthy thoughts and not bad thoughts. Bad thoughts are, money's in the bank, money, is in me working harder, 40 hours, 50 hours. I'll never be anything. I'll never succeed if I just work my 9-to-5 job. Remember Dolly Parton, the song 9 to 5? If I can just work my 9-to-5 job, I'll get by, because I'm raised in a product, I'm raised in an environment where people barely get by. And only the rich, that's luck. People get rich because they get lucky. I was not raised in the Trump family. I wasn't raised over here in this family. I wasn't raised in the royal family of England. So I'm out of luck. So therefore, my thoughts I'm going to give into will be that of, I need to work harder to gain more money. But let me tell you something. All of that is rubbish. None of it is true. None of it is fact. The fact of the matter is, you have thoughts, and when you feed into those God DNA thoughts of creativity, money will always follow you. Now, I want to share something with you real quick as we close. I want to continue this in future videos as well. And that is this. Go with me to my website. And that is Nowisyourmoment.com. Nowisyourmoment.com. When you begin to go there, I want you to begin to tap into some resources we presently have. We have a 5 CD set right now, along with a book. It's a combo set that is called The Laws of Financial Progression. It'll help you. If you're a Christian, it'll help you and empower you to teach you to master sowing and reaping, tithing, and all these other principles. Also on the set, we talk about principles in the universe and how to make them function and flow in the marketplace, on your job, in your family, and whether you're in church, out of church, it doesn't matter. These laws and principles work for you. They're secrets and mysteries that very few people have because they don't have the knowledge to learn how to tap into these secrets and mysteries. The other thing I'm releasing is a brand new course which is entitled Money is a Servant, Not a Leader. I want you to begin to get that in your spirit. Money is a servant, not a leader. You can also find that course on nowisyourmoment.com as well. Hey, have an awesome day. Remember, success is waiting on you to take up and run with it because you are successful. You just don't know it yet. Have a great day.